Welcome to the Fabric of America, the podcast that celebrates small businesses and the remarkable stories that weave our communities together. We're your hosts, Melissa Otto
and Matt Banover.
Matt is a fashion designer passionate about storytelling through style.
And Melissa is a seamstress on a mission to make sewing cool again and inspire the next generation. We sit down with small business owners, artisans, and dreamers to uncover the stories behind their brand, what inspires them, challenges them, and keeps them creating.
Because we believe that behind every idea, every design, every stitch, there's a story worth sharing. So grab a drink from your favorite local shop and join us as we weave together conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of small business. Hi, Matt.
Melissa. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm feeling very artsy, groovy.
Ooh, groovy
right?
is
groovy.
I feel like groovy is an adjective that you don't use enough because you are quite groovy.
Ooh, you just mean me personally. I thought you meant like the universal, like the royal you.
No. No one else deserves it. You.
Oh, thanks.
You have earned it.
Thanks,
because you do have some groove.
Thanks. I feel that.
Yeah, you rock,
sometimes.
you roll. Because sometimes it's like, things just channel through you. You're taking the energy of the universe and you're like rocking and rolling. You're making people feel good. You got the Wu-Tang on. You got Tyler, the Creator going.
Listen, don't mess.
It's a vibe.
It is a vibe.
You create the life you want to see.
You know what? I'm going to own that. I am a vibe. And our guest today was also a vibe.
Honestly, one of a kind.
Thanks for that lovely segue, though. That was very nice.
You're very welcome. Hang on to that one.
I will.
Our guest today, what a artist. I will say that.
Literally.
Fruit. Yeah.
But literally, though.
Yeah. Honestly.
So we had on Virginia from Beret and Brush.
So cool.
So cool. You knew Virginia coming into this
I've known Virginia well.
I did not know what to expect.
Yes.
And definitely walked away with her being better friends with me than you.
Always. I feel like that's on brand.
That always happens. Sorry.
Yep.
But I knew she was going to be cool because I knew that you wouldn't go to bat for a guest that wasn't cool, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know where this conversation was going to lead us.
You know what's so funny? Where this conversation went was not at all how I thought.
Really?
The conversation.
I thought it was so perfectly organic
and
right in there.
Beautiful.
It was great.
But it was like when I was talking to her the other day, I was like, okay, we're going to talk to you about Beret and Brush. We're going to talk to you about the Cat Cafe. We're going to talk to you about community. The way this conversation just organically flows, I mean, it just felt like we took a moment for the three of us to be outside of our bodies and just vibe with each other as business owners, as humans.
It was like a higher plane. Yeah.
It was just like we felt so nice being vulnerable, being seen, being heard.
Yep.
Just yes.
There were a lot of higher level, big picture business things that I feel like we discussed with her that came about that were very much a part of both her sharing her story, but then relating it to that big picture and networking and business ownership and being part of a community and threading through the fabric of America, as we love to say. And it just all made so much sense.
It really did, in a way that is very relatable.
Totally.
We've all had shit jobs. We've all gotten fired. We've all been at a place where we knew we shouldn't have been.
I don't know if I was ever fired. No,
there's something there that we all can relate to something.
Yes.
I worked at a job I knew I shouldn't have been at. Yep. I got fired.
We all had to eat a little shit in this life.
Exactly. We've all done something like that. But then to see how all of that formulated into what we're doing now.
Yes.
I have never seen it so beautifully kind of encapsulated naturally than in this conversation. So let's just get right to it. This is our conversation with Virginia from Beret and Brush. Virginia.
Hello.
This is so exciting. Thank you so much for being here.
You too.
Yes. No, this has been awesome because you've been I'm very appreciative of your support of the podcast. You've been an avid listener, which is awesome. We'll appreciate that. But then also you and I have been friends in the industry for what, 2 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
which is
that.
crazy. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I know, right? Yeah, since that
Nice.
Smith Farm Garden party. And
Yes.
you
Yep.
two have never met.
Nope.
First time today. But we were
Nice.
just saying before we started recording, like and we've talked about this before, it's like you feel like you know people because of that online persona in a way. So I've like seen you through the grapevine. I know your Instagram picture very well.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, blah, 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 Virginia. And I'm like, who's that? And he's like, Beret and Brush.
Yep.
Beret and Brush. And I'm like, oh, I know that immediately.
Yeah,
Like, with
yeah.
the paintbrush. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just like,
Yeah.
there's such a personality there, which I
Yeah.
think is so cool that just like it just permeates.
I'm
Like,
just
Yeah.
one
I
of those
think that's
quirky dorks
special.
that just
I love it.
puts myself in situations and goes from there.
I love
That
it.
is such
I
a-
can so relate.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Melissa and I, it's funny because like we're both like on the fashion scene in this, but we're like low-key super dorks.
Yeah.
You know,
Big
and
time
like
nerd.
love talking about it. Like all this Batman stuff in my place. I'm just like, yeah, we don't like it's not exclusive. You don't have to be into like fashion, but then you can't be into anything else. Like
Mhm.
it's all about who you are, every
Yep.
part of it. You know, and so like you as an artist, that's got to be a big part of it, kind of pulling out people's personalities. But how did you get started with being an artist? Let's start there.
All right. So, what are like the typical stereotypes you think of with an artist? Usually, we're kind of like free spirits and we're colorful and we play.
Yeah.
What would you think is the opposite of that? Like career wise,
I don't know. Like
Business.
yeah.
business.
Like really rigid, cold.
Yeah.
So it started with military school.
Oh, okay. Same. Okay.
Wow.
I see
Yeah.
it.
So
All
it
right.
actually like started with like the army. And the high school plan was I had a full army scholarship. So
No
I went
way.
up to Norwich University to study biology. I wanted to be a combat medic.
What?
Wow.
Oh my God.
So
Even
it's,
I just skipped a tangent real
Yeah.
quick. Like even just saying those words, like army combat medic, like
Yeah.
that's a big job.
Yeah.
Like my mom's a nurse, and I went on Bring Your Daughter to Work Day and like fainted in the OR. Like
Yeah.
you have to be a special person.
Yeah. My dad
to
was a trauma surgeon his
look
whole
into
life.
those things.
Yeah.
Like that's just
well, so it
off the
kind of
bat.
stemmed from the family. So I grew up in New Hartford, Connecticut. So northwest corner Connecticut, where
Satan's
Ski
Kingdom,
Sundown is.
shout out.
Well, and I actually worked there doing the river tubing job for
Really?
a summer, like
Wait,
in
did
between
you-
college.
Did you know the Caseys?
It sounds very familiar. Yes.
Yeah, they have like one of the Jack Casey had one of the boat things. Anyway, Eric and I grew up with his daughters.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the only reason I know New Hartford. Most people know New Hartford because of Ski Sundown.
Yes.
But when you drive through it, there's a place called Satan's Kingdom. I don't know if you.
you said it.
I put it on my
never
resume
heard of
too.
it.
And
Yeah.
my dad always got a kick out of that.
Fair
Like,
enough.
yep, my daughter worked at Satan's Kingdom, but the tubing park. So
Yes, yeah,
I was
yeah.
a lifeguard for the tubing during the summer.
Yeah.
But the family, both my parents were ski patrollers. And then when I was old enough, I just squeaked by like you're supposed to be 15 when you go through the medical training. I was like a week shy.
Yeah.
So they
But
snuck in.
yep, so I snuck
Nice.
in, and when my sister was old enough, she became a patroller. So this was like the family bonding thing.
It's really
Yeah.
cool.
And if you don't know what a ski patroller is, it's essentially an EMT on skis. So
Yeah.
when the skiing public gets hurt, it's our job to stabilize the injury and get you down to the next level of care. So
Right.
an EMT on skis. So I already had an introduction to kind of the trauma, if you will. And, you know, I usually did like the Friday nights, which was like the after school groups, but you'd also get your people who would come stoned or drunk or combination
Yeah.
Oh
of.
my God.
Yeah.
And that leads to some very interesting injuries. But that's where I really like in high school learned my leadership, my boldness, because here I am at 15 and technically I'm trained at the same level as the adults.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm scene leaders, whoever's first person on scene. So here I am at 15, you know, someone either cut themselves, broke their leg, whatever. And I'm like, okay, you know, get someone set up and make sure that the scene is safe. Someone grab, you know, call for a toboggan, like, you know, alert EMS.
Yeah.
So here I am at 15 directing a
Owning it.
scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm getting jitters thinking about it because I'm like, how many 15-year-olds? I'm like, really? Did I look like that?
What?
But that's what, and my parents did it and my sister did it. And so it was
At sundown?
at sundown.
Wow.
And I even did that for I retired like 2 years ago.
What?
So that was something like we did because skiing's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from an economical standpoint, that's how, we earned our season's passes, but also developed community within the ski patrol community.
Cool.
Cool.
But that led to then, okay, military school. I want to be a combat medic. I want to try this route.
What?
And so it was,
So what happened with?
So what happened was, in the military, because I was kind of in, but not, because if you've done ROTC, you're getting your bachelor's at the same time that you're getting your training to commission.
Yeah.
So that at the same weekend that I would graduate with my bachelor's of science in biology, the next day I would also become second lieutenant in the Army. I forget the order. It's been 15 years or so. But those would happen at the same time. But in order to maintain that, you have to maintain certain grades, maintain a certain fitness test. Those were no problem. Had to maintain a certain height, weight. And I always struggled with it every single semester. And I was doing rugby at the time. Like, I loved rugby. It was so much fun. But between rugby and Army PT in the morning, I was working out like 20 hours a week. And I still was always like, you either have to maintain like a certain weight or a certain body fat percentage. So it was super frustrating because here I could pump out the max number of push-ups. I could pump out at the time the max number of sit-ups and run, a 2 mile in like 14 minutes. But here I am, I'm told I'm too fat and I'm at risk of losing my scholarship.
Wow.
And so, and it's extremely embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's like, and so my junior year is when I turned 21. And just because, I drank legally because I didn't want to ruin the scholarship beforehand. But here I am drinking on a Friday night and experimenting as 21-year-olds do. Well, drinking slows your metabolism, which meant that I was always this close before and I'd have to do something drastic the week of. Once my junior year came and I was able to drink, it was okay. Now I'm not even able to obtain it. And lost my scholarship. I still graduated, but it was extremely devastating because that was the plan. Even so, like, going to my community, there was like, oh, Virginia's doing great. She's going to graduate. She's going to commission. And most people thought if you're a biology major, somehow, I think my mom put in their head that I was going to go into cancer research. And I'm... white lab, especially knowing me now. Can you imagine me in a white lab?
My God, You'd be like a
being
naked
very
gun.
meticulous on
Bumping and everything.
So then I'm like, well, crap. There was no plan B. This was the plan, and this was a really good plan. So I came back to Connecticut, and I'm just trying to get any job I can. But I'm still under the impression, because I grew up in the 90s, you go to school, you do good in your grades, you graduate, you'll be able to make a living.
You'll be fine.
No problem.
That was the great lie we were all fed.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll at least be able to pay rent. And that was like, it was like my degree meant nothing. And I struggled all through my 20s. And I'm like, God, I just want like a job that I can pay the rent.
Right.
Like, and here I am,
won't even
like,
be picky.
just
give me the check.
Yep, those ramen noodle PB&J days. If I felt really expensive, maybe I'll put like a can of Campbell's soup with the spaghetti. Like,
treat yourself.
Right. Yeah. So I'm doing entry-level jobs, and they were like absurd jobs. Like the first one was working at Lens Crafters selling glasses.
Yeah.
I didn't wear glasses.
Yeah.
The next one was a construction job, being an admin. Then it was working at like a daycare. And in all this, like, I'm giving you guys very much the very hyperlapse version of my testimony. So it sounds like, oh, that sucked for a period. Now it's better.
Yeah.
Like in my 20s, there are periods where I was like unemployed for like 2 months, 3 months, at one point, even 6 months. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
like,
a bad
I know I'm
person.
a capable human, right? Like,
why am I only being limited by these entry-level jobs? And it's not that I'm too good to do them. Like, again, if I'm part of a team and the toilet needs scrubbing, I will do that. But for my life, I have this calling. There's something that I need to do more.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's often where I'd get in trouble at work. I would always look for more or try to find a way to like enhance something. One of the jobs was working at a vet hospital because I'm like, okay, well, then I can take my biology degree and I can work with animals.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. I could be a veterinarian.
Yeah.
So I worked as a receptionist at a vet hospital for a year, and that was almost lower than minimum wage, I think. Like, there was a lot of unethical things that happened in that job, and it just killed me because I was like, this is going to be the career. This is how I'm going to make my comeback.
Yeah.
And
Each
that
time you start off like motivated and ready to go, and then just your soul gets sucked.
Yep. Because I would also, when it was slow and I knew that someone was up front, I would go and hang out with the vets in the back and watch them do surgeries or stuff because that's what I wanted to learn to do. And so people took that the wrong way, or so. Essentially, after a year, I was like, one particular situation, I'm like, this isn't even ethical. This is wrong. Like, no, I am not a part of this anymore. You guys have ruined working with dogs and cats for me.
Yeah.
Like, so here I am now. I'm like 28.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, right? 28, 29.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what now? Like, now I'm getting burnt out because I don't even know what's left.
Yeah.
And that summer was great because I had just gotten engaged that winter. And my friend told me about a job working at a summer camp up in New Hampshire, living off grid for 2 months at a Boy Scout camp. So this was like 2019. And in 2019 is when Boy Scouts of America became BSA, allowed girls to come in. So they needed female leaders. They needed, females to be around if we're going to have girls on campus just for a ratio purpose.
Right.
So I get thrown in as the assistant waterfront director, where it's me and one other guy. I'm like 28. The other director is like 22. And I'm in charge of like 15, 16-year-olds who are lifeguards on 3 different waterfronts.
Yeah.
And they see me pull up and they're like, who is this chick? Like, because it's been a boys club.
New. Yeah.
Right.
This is extremely new.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're already undermining me and guessing everything I say. Like, I don't know, a kid got scratched in a canoe and there was like a drop of blood. And one kid's like, well, here in the Boy Scouts, we have a rules and procedure for this. I'm like, do you have 10 gallons of rubbing alcohol? Like, no, just get it.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Clean the wound and shut up.
Yeah. Essentially. But it was an opportunity for me to figure out, what am I good at? And so within like a 2-month time span, I was able to be off in the woods and figure out what I'm good at. And it was community. Yeah. I was able to earn the respect of these 15-year-old boys because any job I asked them to do, I did too.
Yeah.
I was not, one of these leaders that's like, okay, like I'm
barking
tired.
Orders,
You go do all the crappy work.
Yeah.
To the point where they're like, I'm nervous about college. I'm nervous about this girl. Like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, now I'm like filled again. Now I'm like ready and anxious. And now we've got 4 months of unemployment. I'm like, why can't I find something?
Yeah.
Why isn't this working? And then I get a job working at a Subaru dealership selling cars. And I'm like, okay.
Your resume must be 17 pages long.
Right. I've had to like really bullet. Well, now I work for myself, so who cares anymore what my resume looks like?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you remember that feeling? We've talked about this a couple times about our formative years working for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
What it feels like to just be like, this is not it. Like, I can't.
To know it's not it, but you have to stay there for a while.
But like, you're also like, what is it? I know this isn't it, but I know that I shouldn't be working for you.
Right.
And I know I should be doing something different.
But am I a self-centered, like, youngling?
Right,
am I being entitled by saying I shouldn't be doing this? So you're kind of like trying to juggle that humility factor.
Feeling. Like, you're talking about this, I'm like, God, yeah. I definitely remember what that was.
But it's also like I relate to what you're talking about because I've always felt like I was a person who's like, to this day, like I'll be down in the trenches with you. I'm not above cleaning the toilets. I'm not above doing this or that, like whatever. But that's how I was in my former like work for someone else life. So I expected like, I'll do all the shitty jobs. You don't even like if you're the manager or whatever, you don't have to do all the shitty jobs. But like I expect you to like level with me. I also think my first job out of college, I actually worked for White House Black Market. I had an awesome manager who was always very like keen on dividing responsibilities, was a very fair player, was very like good at communicating with myself and the other assistant manager. So I always felt like this level of good leadership because I had it out of the gate.
Yeah.
So everything after that felt like and nothing pissed me off more than a manager who sat in the back room and watched numbers and then told us all the shit we were doing wrong, but never spent a lick of time out on the sales floor or doing like, you got to be in the trenches. Like, you have to be with us to know. Otherwise, I don't respect you.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that's not happening.
Well, and there's this assumption that's like, well, I had to, do my dues. I had to get harassed or whatever haze to get here. So I did my stuff. And it's like, he doesn't know.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
there's
also,
you don't have to eat shit forever, but like,
right,
have a little humility to remember what it was like for the rest of us doing it now.
I also had a manager who came in and she told us straight up, I paid my dues. And I was like, yeah, but not with us. You paid your dues at some other store. I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about your dues or what you did. Show us how to do this. You're just yelling at us that we're doing it wrong, but not showing us how to do it right. And I remember like I had a regional manager at Joseph A. Bank who was like, who said something about how the store manager shouldn't sell the most, but should be the best salesperson. And I took that to mean you should also do that in every other aspect of your position. Like I shouldn't have to clean the bathroom, but I should know how to do it and that it should be done. And like those little aspects. And I was in Philly yesterday with a colleague and we were talking about how difficult it is to hire in our positions of such exceptional performance and delivery. And we were saying like the reason why we've risen to the top is because we know that how to go above and beyond, not just do the bare minimum, not just kind of be a helicopter and like look over, like,
28 pieces of flair.
Yes, exactly.
Office
You know how to
every time.
really deliver an exceptional experience. And it comes down to like, I don't care if I'm the person selling you X, Y, and Z or I'm cleaning the toilet. Like it's all the same job. The experience is the experience.
Yeah.
And I think that like what you're talking about, it forms that completely.
It's a work ethic thing.
Yes.
Like, because it's going to trickle out into the front showroom. Even if you're the manager in the back, if this is how you're treating your employees in the front, it's going to trickle into the customer service in the front.
Because then the employee is like, to hell with this place.
Right.
And they're going to give that experience to the customer. The customer's going to be like, to hell with this place.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So you're at camp with all these horned up boys like doing what needs to be done. I can't even imagine like the first time these boys like I've seen camp. Like, what was that like being up there for a couple months?
So it was really freeing because it was in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire. There's no self-service. Like I literally at that point was calling my
you're one
fiance.
of how many girls?
Oh, I'm the only. I think I was like one. No, besides the nurse on staff, I was the only other one.
That's
so besides the camp nurse, who I got the job from, like she told me about it.
That's painting a picture.
I was the only other, like, I think you'd have like, because it would be troops that would come, and technically troops were supposed to like, police their own. So you might get the moms from the local troops, but as far as official staff,
yeah,
me and the nurse.
Yep. Wow.
And so, and the thing is, like, okay, 28-year-old me going against, like, they would do fun activities, usually physically engaged, like some kind of like mini triathlon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I got to go about how to like earn their respect besides just demanding it because that doesn't work. So I would do these triathlons with these guys.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
I mean, these are kids, like 17-year-old kids who can run a mile in like 4 minutes kind of deal. But that's okay. Like, I kept doing it. I kept coming in, so I showed up, and and it's really like they notice the things that aren't flashy. They notice the moments you're not on point.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you really like shine as a leader is like when it's crappy, when, the customers aren't around, what is your demeanor like?
Yeah.
And so like it was a really cool experience. It really like reset me. It confused the heck out of me when I then went to 4 months of unemployment again.
Right.
And so but then working at the car dealership, it was like, okay, I'm gonna be that salesman. I'm gonna not be that sharky salesman.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh no.
They just like one day they just like, what was it? It was an older gentleman. He had come in and he had a 2018 Forester. And he's like, I want navigation in my car. And I'm like, okay, well, to get navigation is going to cost you $13,000 more for this model. Or I can show you about, Apple iPhone or iPlay or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't want to buy a cell phone. I'm like, so $1,000 to get a brand new phone and just plug it into your system and play it and have it right there.
Yeah.
Or $13,000 more. And so one of the managers didn't like how I was like struggling with this like concept that this guy was like, well, I don't want it to be $13,000 more.
Right.
I don't want to buy an iPhone. And I'm like, Android? Like,
Right?
I'm trying to figure out what to help you with here.
Yeah.
Right.
So he just, at the end of the shift, just fired me straight out. Now, the blessing was this is January 2020.
Wow.
Which meant that I filed unemployment a month before everybody else had to.
Wow.
So that was like one of those like, okay, God, like I'm just talking about my own experience.
Yeah, that's your
And
story.
so because that is the source, that is how I paint. Because when while I'm doing all these crappy jobs, I'm dirt poor.
Yeah.
I could doodle. So I wouldn't call, I could do doodles in college.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself an artist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never got that. I didn't go to art school, so I never
up until
got
this
that
point,
degree.
you're not painting.
Not painting.
Wow.
Not until like after college, and it was bad
Yeah.
in the beginning. But what it was in the beginning was me, okay, if I can trace this and fill it in with some paint, and give it to somebody. And these first few paintings that I did, they had an impact. Like people are crying when they're getting them. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. So I can't buy anything that, you might want, but I can make something.
Yeah.
And it would be of their dog or, a family, lake house or some kind of beautiful scenery, something that I knew meant something to them. So it didn't cost me money, but it cost me time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as I saw that impact, I was like, oh, now I want to get better.
Yeah.
So, and the way I got better was Pinterest, Google. If I knew you had a black dog, I would look up black dogs online and I would just try to copy it in my style and look at different things.
Yeah.
So while I'm doing all these crappy jobs, let alone this hobby I'm doing, just to show people I care while I don't have money at the moment is actually the way that I develop my art skill.
Yeah.
And I look at those paintings now and part of me is like, oh, those are really bad. But I'm like, but
That's how we all feel about the beginning.
Yeah, seriously.
But how important the beginning is. Right?
Yeah.
Because I was told.
That's how you get where you are.
Yeah. I was told with my art, okay, they're cute. Stick with animals. Don't do people. Your people aren't great.
Yeah.
People are hard AF to paint.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just, okay. Thankfully, something in me was like, okay, stick it to you. I'm going to just keep trying this.
Right.
I'm going to keep learning this.
Yeah.
Everything we do in life, we need to learn it from somebody. I don't know why we just think that we just are plopped with this magic bolt of okay, now this is easy for you.
Right.
And it's every aspect of life. I mean, Melissa and I get praised on our social media. Our first bunch of reels were rough. I love this concept of you can't, write your 50th blog unless you write your first.
Right.
You only get better and you only have work to show once you've done the thing. And the thing gets better over time.
Right.
Even the first couple garments, the fittings I did years ago, I'm just like, whoa, those did not go great. And different stores, different ideas, different patterns, different everything. And sometimes it was the product, sometimes it was whatever. But I'm like, now I'm like, I know what I'm doing, but it came through years and years of failure and struggling. But it doesn't matter if it's your job that you're doing or social media or how you eat or
you cannot
whatever.
Fail 100 times and not learn something from it.
Correct.
Yes.
So failure doesn't mean that you're not fruitful. It just means you learn to twist it. And, again, that's that corny, what Thomas Edison way. There's 100 ways not to make a light bulb kind of deal. But
exactly.
again, my social media in the beginning is, but we've all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Like, yeah. So
every aspect of it. So when did you start thinking, okay, Beret and Brush, like what, let's make a business. So where does the Beret thing come from?
So, oh, wow. So, so the company, like I didn't see about live wedding painting till COVID. And again, like COVID is usually this like pain, like we all kind of do this little like, but at the same time, how many creatives do we now network and know that it was such
birthed out of COVID?
Yeah.
Birthed out of COVID.
It's been a theme.
Yeah.
And so, the Beret has a couple different, little ties and great like significance to it that I didn't know until after I called it Beret and Brush. So during COVID, I started to draw again because now I'm sitting around the house and I'm like, I can only clean it. I've watched everything on Netflix and whatever.
Yeah.
Nope.
My husband's like, start drawing again because during like that vet stage, I had stopped drawing. I had stopped creating things. So I had about 2 years of just not doing anything.
Yeah.
So COVID was that opportunity to start drawing again. And during my scrolling during COVID, I saw this artist who does wedding paintings. I'm like, how cool is that? And that's all it was. In 2020, it was like, how cool is that?
Cool.
And it was this massive, like 30 by 40 painting that she could complete in like 4 or 5 hours. So I just started, so it was just a seed that was planted.
Yeah.
End of 2021, I found myself working as an assistant for a photographer. So here I am now actually physically in the wedding world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And this particular photographer he caters to the geeky introverts.
Yes.
So we're going to the Harry Potter weddings.
Yes.
We're going to the Dungeons and
Yes.
Dragons weddings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yes, I wouldn't want this for mine, but how cool is it that
Right.
we go to a Renaissance wedding and the ring bearers are little dragons?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and he was new in his business, and so it wasn't the right fit at a point, which crushed my heart because I'm like, crap, like now I've gotten a taste of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten this like buzz. So I go back to the 9 to 5, like job searching again, and I'm like, nope. Like everything in me is screaming, I cannot do this again.
Yeah.
So I call him up. I'm like, okay, business 101. I want to try this live wedding painting thing. And he's like, I don't know anything about painting. I'm like, that's fine.
Right.
Business 101. What do I need? EIN, LLC, insurance. And I'm like, okay, cool. At that time, I called myself Me as VB because it was like an email I had. There was no like branding or what. And it was one of those things, my friends, in my early Instagram days, they supported the Me as VB art, but I'm like, I know this sounds stupid. I know it looks stupid. So
had to start somewhere.
Got to start
Yeah,
somewhere. So
yeah.
again, call up said photographer friend and said like, hey, branding. And he's like, okay, so I'm going to have you write down your ideal client. I'm like, do I have to write them down? I'm pretty good at, no, write them down.
Yeah.
What they do, what their job is, who they are. Do they have a cat or a
Thank
dog?
you.
Do they
Thank
have,
you.
like, you need to build it for them because otherwise you're always going to sell from your own mind. And
It's too
That person-
ambiguous. It's
Yeah,
too
that
much.
person
There's too
doesn't
much shit
exist.
floating
Yeah.
around in this head.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I can't just say like, I want to sell clothing to people.
yeah.
Right.
Anyone getting married, like, no, you
Yeah.
gotta hone in.
You gotta hone in on
Everybody pokes me a little bit about my like ideal client avatar. So this is something I've been doing with the Stitch Collective and prompting folks on our back end and really like having like, no, give her a name. Tell me what car they drive. What do they do? Where do they go? And someone actually was like, Melissa, is your ideal client you? And I'm like, oh, maybe. And I never thought about it. I really didn't. And I'm like, oh, I guess they kind of,
Yeah.
which is embarrassing.
That is
But
pretty funny.
it is what it is at this
Yeah.
point. But I know who my client is. And those are the things that guide your marketing, that guide your branding, that guide like the name and and how you're going to reach people and how you're going to communicate. Like it's so much more important than people realize. And that's actually another thing I got from White House Black Market. We had a training. So that was a really good job. I don't know how they are
I
now.
learned so much from Joseph A. Bank and Express, even though they're garbage
Did
places.
you guys have an ideal client?
No, we
in
didn't
there?
do any of that.
So we had an ideal client. I don't know if they still use this. She had a name. Her name was Sydney. And everyone who walked into the store, like any customers, we referred to them as a Sydney.
Yeah.
So what did Sydney want? What was she looking like? And she had a story.
Really?
She had a demographic
What?
and what car she drove and where she was and where she vacationed and all the things. So that was my first like foray into like what an ideal client avatar is, and, like what's her
super
shopping
cool.
journey. Yeah, it was very cool. It was a good job.
That's
Sorry,
awesome.
tangent.
Yeah,
No, that's cool. Like,
Right. Yes. So you made a
like,
client avatar.
yeah. And do I still stick to those? I don't know. I'm still developing it because
It can change. It's an evolutionary process.
Because,
for sure.
yeah, my business is so many different
Right.
things.
Well, and at the time you said the name wasn't even
Yeah.
the name, you know.
So I think it was like I'm playing around with different ideas. I'm shooting them back and forth. I'm seeing what other live painters do. And usually it's like, Virginia does live painting or Virginia's art studio. And then the thing in the back of my head was that, and not to shoot down anybody whose business is their name. Okay.
Yeah.
That is totally part of you. And if that works for you, great. This is just me specifically.
Yeah.
Was that, okay, this pigeonholes me too much. That it's not working. It's not sounding great. So another person I had been following on Instagram was this law student down in like South Carolina. And she's, going to law school. She went for her board. So she's a certified lawyer. Here she has her art business on the side. She makes more money with her art business, putting it as stationery and stuff like that. And so her name was like Mill and Meadow. And I'm like, oh, then now my brain is turning.
Right.
What if I just put objects to it?
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, obviously I'm always going to have a paintbrush.
Yeah.
Right.
What else could I have? And then it was the beret.
Yeah.
And the beret kind of ties back to, like, again, back to the Army, but not even just with my experience with the Army, but my grandparents.
Yeah.
So my grandfather was a runaway back in the 30s who ran away to West Point. Then World War II broke out, and he ranked up really quickly because he was an engineer in the Army, but nobody wanted to be the colonel of an all-black regiment.
Yeah.
So he took it on. He stepped up, and he's teaching these soldiers, these black soldiers who are, kind of tossed aside, how to make airline strips in the Pacific, how to do civil engineering in the Pacific.
That's the shit I geek out on.
Yeah,
Right? I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God.
So
that's
here's
so
my grandfather
cool.
with them in the Pacific. My grandmother back at home is, there's usually like the Army Wives Club.
Right.
She was making sure that the Black Army wives also had a community, were also included. Like if she saw them around base, would give their kids rides.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is the 40s.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the 40s.
Yeah, not a great time.
Not a great time. But here she's already like being this like, badass.
Yeah.
Once they got out of the Army, then they moved to like Alexandria, Virginia. If you've ever seen Remember the Titans, my grandfather was an algebra teacher there. That was my dad's graduating class.
Shut up.
So like he knew all those characters. So, you don't bring it up around him because he'll start being like, well, this is how Disney got it wrong and this is how they got it right.
Yeah.
And, but so
here
there's
for it.
this already like, okay, back from my grandparents, this lineage of like, okay, let's be badass and go against the norms. Let's like expand. Let's like experience. Let's do the scary things. And so, but my grandmother was still a part of being an Army officer. She was still traveling around, like still in those social elite clubs. So wearing the beret. Like, and when they moved to Paris in the 50s, she's hanging out with like Julia Stiles. Is that it? Childs. That's it. Yes.
Julia Stiles is
I
our
know, right?
actress from
yes, no.
the dance
Julia
movie.
Childs. So, again, smoking in some cafe in Paris, talking politics. And so the beret, like after a while, it kind of is a full like redemption story of like, I thought I was going to be an Army medic. I thought this is how I was going to wear the beret. Here I am wearing it in a different platform.
Very cool.
And so while I didn't go into the Army, what it did teach me is like, okay, I could buckle down and do hard things. I could wake up at 5 a.m., get my hair like flicked back,
Right.
Yeah.
pasted to my head. I could go run 5-10 miles with a rucksack kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so like, it's still like, the more I look back at all those jobs, I'm like, I need to do more. It taught me customer service. It taught me how to multitask. It taught me how to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like one of the podcasts you guys were talking about was like how you went the extra mile for your customers. When I was a waitress, like, yes, I'd come to the table and take their order, but I'm like, are you guys celebrating anything today? Are you here for a birthday, an anniversary?
Yeah.
And then I would do a little doodle on their check.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
cute.
would like, so like, you know, yeah, probably got me to like 20% from 18% for a tip. But at the same time, that was just my like,
that was your
thing.
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unreasonable hospitality.
Unreasonable hospitality.
Have you read that book?
I have not yet.
It's good.
Guys,
up your alley.
I listen to your podcast. I have a list of books and
Yeah.
trips I need to take so I can
exactly.
listen to all these besides like the podcast and whatnot.
That's
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm reading a source code right now, Bill Gates's biography.
Oh, okay.
Autobiography. It's pretty good. Like, because he talks about, similar to you, just how he got the most out of every situation he found himself in. Like he found himself living near the school that had the test computers. And it's like, you know, there were 50 other kids in that same class that had computers. He's the one who's just like, what can I do with this now situation? And that's kind of similar to yours. Is just like, okay, so I went through all these jobs. They weren't it, but I didn't not learn something from them, you know?
Well, that's the thing we've talked about too, I think, lightly in past episodes is like this idea of transferable skills. Like nothing that you do stays where it was in your timeline, right? Like we extrapolate even the littlest bits, even if it's just like shit you don't want to do. Like there's something to every experience that you bring with you everywhere down the road.
And it's probably like we hear each other talk all the time, but like I talk about Express and Joseph A. Bank all the time because I learned so much from those jobs.
Yeah, they're part of your foundational story.
Of just like how to sell, how to be, how to work. Even though the product wasn't great, I'm just like, whatever. Like what I learned from those places was absolutely incredible. The thing that I didn't learn until like the boutique job that I worked at was that sense of community and what it was like networking. So now you find yourself heading the rising tide.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Which was never the plan either.
Yeah. So you've just kind of keep putting yourself in this position. It's funny because our last guest, we were talking about this, like, if you build it, they will come kind of mentality. Like if you say no to this one door and say yes to this other thing, the next opportunity will present itself. Same thing for you. You're now following your lineage of like community building. And now these opportunities are just presenting themselves.
Well, yeah. And it's just that when I started the live painting, like I knew of 2 other artists in the area and, you know, they're very good, very talented artists, but they're also very introverted. And I was like bombarding them with questions like, how do I do this? And they're like, they gracefully said like, look, we hope this works out for you, but we don't have the ability to teach you, to mentor you and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, so shut door. Where's the next door? And I'm like, okay, I know my photographer friends, like I'll start putting myself in the rooms where all the smarter people are. Okay, photography, no, I'm not doing it, but it's the same market, same business practice, you know, same target audience. The product's different, but doesn't mean I can't glean from that.
Tangent operations.
So so I started just stalking the photographers and making friends with the photographers and learning from them. And it was once I go to one networking event, I'd find out about another one and find out, you know, it becomes this chain effect of explosions. So definitely like the year that I met you, I was going to like 4 or 5 different networking events a week just to like figure it out because there's also a science to networking.
Sure
and
is.
So
we should do an episode about that.
We should.
Like just networking. Yes.
So like it's just throwing myself in all these different scenarios. And then that's how I found out about Rising Tide. So it wasn't another year and a half until Rising Tide. And then the co-founder told me, hey, I'm moving to Florida. And I'm like, okay. I reached out to Chris Stiles, who was
who you always bring up.
Yeah, I love Chris Stiles. I don't even know him that. I just fangirl because he had like hilarious Instagrams. And
he's a fun guy. He's a fun guy.
I completely, I think, like terrified him in a parking lot because I was like, hi. It was at Smith Farms.
Yeah.
He was in the parking lot and I was just I was a nutcase. And then I had one of those moments of like, oh, Melissa, too much personality. Like, with a stranger, rein that back in. But for the listener who doesn't know, tell everybody about what Rising Tide is.
So Rising Tide is another networking group. There's a ton of them out there, but this is geared towards creative entrepreneurs. So again, it was started by photographers, I guess, out in California around 2015.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, right.
Photographers can be a dime a dozen, you know? And so I guess the tension was like, we shouldn't be in tension with each other. There's more than enough jobs to go around. We should be in community and uplifting each other, because when we uplift each other and teach each other, then we can also perform better. We can give more services. We can build. So therefore, it became a community of photographers who were trying to uplift and, you know, meet over copy. And very much they're the community over competition. And so, but I'm always like,
for applause.
but I'm also the person who will insert myself. I'll go to a real estate networking event. I'll go to you know, have nothing to do with houses whatsoever. But these are small businesses. These are people who have stories. These are people to network.
I gave a presentation at the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce and you were there.
Yup.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if you're a small business, show up.
It was so funny because I went and like I was very involved in the Chamber of Commerce, the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, when I was working at the boutique store. And I was like on the board, I helped start Flow, I did all this stuff. And then when I started Bards and moved away and it was COVID and I couldn't do anything in West Hartford, I kind of got out of it. But then in years since I've tried to get back in and whatever, but I've also done so much other networking in the wedding industry. And it was so funny because when I went there, you were there and it was like, worlds colliding. It's just like, what is this, like a crossover episode? Like,
so many things.
Yeah, it was just like, I know my
networking in Connecticut is you're gonna cross. I almost forget about the like which association or which like title I'm coming under. But it's like, okay, I know Matt will be there.
I know
sit
there in the room and I'm like, wait, where am I? Which event is this? Because I'll associate people with other stuff I've seen. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is
But
different.
it's funny because like just the networking is also so different. Like at a NEEP event, everybody's very creative and explosive and friendly. Whereas like you go to like a chamber event, it's like, I own a bank.
It's a little more rigid, and I think it also, and I think there's the benefit to each thing. Like I like the chamber events because I like to sit down and talk about what's going on either hyper locally or even like legislatively that is impacting myself as a small business person or the greater like arts community, things like that. So
you can glean so much information from being in the room with people smarter than you. Like, yeah, fine, they own a bank. Great. They know about finances. I am not particularly great with my finances. Like, you know, that's something I'm learning. So this is something that is another area of tidbit information that I can apply to my business. And also, who am I going to aspire? Not to like raise myself up, but it's like, okay, like it's hard enough being an entrepreneur. But, you know, when your industry already has starving artists attached to it, like, okay, even more so pushing the boundaries.
Yep, totally.
But it's like, okay, other people built me up. Other people fed wisdom into me. Who can I then turn around, feed, inspire? Like, so I'm all about like, because that to me is also creating like too, like I get the jitters of like, ooh, what are you capable of and how can we help it grow and who can I connect you with? Because my networking isn't just about networking me. It's like, okay, who can I like think of Matt with? Who can I think of Melissa with? Who can I think of like, you know, Christiane? Like, oh my God, like I know you've had her on. She is such like, she came at such a pivotal moment.
She's a beast.
Like she is a beast. I love her. And like even this summer, like you hit that point in your entrepreneurship. Like we expect that this is going to work in 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. So this summer would have been 2.5 years. And I'm like, I need the numbers to work for me. I'm just like, I don't know where my next paycheck is coming from. I haven't gotten paid in a month. So I worked for her for a little bit. As income because I didn't know where else it was coming from. So one day we're chopping tomatoes and I just like, she knew. She looked at me and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I need this to work. I've put so much energy and I don't know where the next thing is coming from. And typical Christiane, she starts tearing up and she just gives me the biggest hug. And she's like, it sounds cheesy AF, but you're right on the cusp. If you quit now, you are going to miss out on so much. And she didn't know, like, so literally 2 weeks later or so, the cat cafe opens up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. And the cat cafe is its own other networking and story. And it's been like, and I love everybody there. Like, oh my God, there's crazy cat people. And another whole other networking side that I do. So, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, what are the beautiful sayings? A setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. You know,
You guys are filled with quotes today.
Cannot believe I got through that one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That one's really good. I always love the imagery ones also, that if you feel like you're being pulled back or whatever, just remember that a arrow can't shoot forward unless you're getting pulled back. And then also just like turbulence and pushback. A plane takes off from the turbulence and gains flight from the pushback on the wings.
Man, all right, we get it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Your comparisons,
analogies, all of those, because you need them in different ways. You need to hear it from different angles, from different this. Like, it's not just like, oh, this didn't work. Like, you need to know that friction happens, that pitfalls happen, that setbacks happen. Like, and then an opportunity will present itself. It's just about like.
And you're just also hitting like all the engineers in my life. My dad's an engineer. My husband's an engineer. Like they're like, now I get it. Like, you know, cool. We can add physics and science to this.
Yes. No, it's so true. Like, it's just about, do you have the fortitude and the determination to hold on and get through that turbulent part? Like, are you going to jump ship? Or are you just going to ride it through? Because that's really how you get through it and get past it.
And just, I mean, like, we can be like, oh, we saw this inspirational quote online, whatever. But to have a human in your midst, this is where I'm going with like networking here, who knows you, who sees you. She saw right through you, right? And knew what you, like, gave you a hug and was just like, hang on.
Yeah.
Because we've been there. All of the business owners have been there. And probably more times than once, right?
Yeah.
So we know what we need. And sometimes we know what we need to tell each other to like lift each other up, to just get past that hard spot, to get to like the glory.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons Melissa and I started this podcast, was because we were like, we have these conversations all the time. We call each other crying and like, this is it, like, oh my God, it's over, I can't.
And not tears of joy either.
Yeah, never tears of joy.
High highs and low lows. It never really like doubles in the middle.
We've talked to each other about like, I don't know this. Like, I know that I've talked to her about like, this is it, it's over. And she's talked to me about like, I don't know, I can't keep doing this again and again and again. And it's like, we need other people to know that this is what it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
That they're not alone.
There's a validity to it, right? Yeah. We all just want to feel validated in what we're experiencing and what we're going through. So as soon as you know someone else who you look at as successful or doing the thing or on their way, validates that they went through that shit too, maybe in a different way, but still some shit, you're like, oh, that makes, I can make it through some shit. Like, I got this. This is my shitty time. I'm going to move forward and I'm going to get to the next spot.
I don't know what musical artist said it or something, but they were like, it took me 15 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah. Oh, wasn't that like Chapel Roan or something? I don't know. It better
somebody, be. But it was just like, no, these dark
Maybe
times, these dark times, they are a part of it. Like, it's the Subaru dealership is as much a part of your story as the wedding that pays you full price and is your ideal client. They're both just as important.
You don't get one without going through the stream of the others.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
And that's the thing, like, also at the Rising Tide meetings that I've like put in my own twist, is at the end I'm like, okay, where's everybody at?
Yeah.
Because I don't want this to be a like, oh, we're all business people who have our crap together.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's like, where are you struggling? How can we help you? How can we send good vibes, pray, whatever. Whatever it is. How can we support
or celebrate your win? Like, sometimes we don't celebrate our own wins, but we celebrate other people's, right? Like, so sometimes
we're really
it's
good
nice,
at other people.
Right. Sometimes
really hard
it's
on
nice
ourselves.
to have the lens turned back on us and someone be like, hey, you did a really good job. Like, or just like, did you acknowledge that you made it through? I've texted you before and been like, have you taken a step back and realized like what you did this week? Like, that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like a little thing. Like, I texted her last night because she was supposed to go out with my girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, and she said, no, I need
we
rest.
We both equally bailed on each other.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm tired. And she's like, you know what? Me too. I'm like, let's be nap friends instead.
And I text
Can we go
Melissa.
into our introverted holes together?
Literally.
And I text Melissa. I was like, good for you for saying no.
He was like, I'm proud of you for
You'll do it again.
Yeah.
And we were like, paycheck.
Yeah.
But like sometimes feeling no feels like, oh, like I'm doing no,
like
I'm
a
doing
letdown
negative.
or-
But it's like
yeah.
sometimes saying no is just as important as saying yes.
Yeah. Or it's
Sometimes-
just not right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes
there's
saying
so
no.
much. Yes.
Sometimes saying no and taking a beat to rest is just as important as rallying to say yes to go to that networking
When you
event.
need to.
They're
Yeah.
both equally as important. And like I feel like one of the best things about mine and Melissa's, I'll speak for myself, is that we're getting better at that.
Yes.
That leveling out of I need to say yes and I need to say no.
Mhm.
And like, because
Boundaries.
it
baby.
doesn't matter how long you've lived on this planet, you will never ever get the recipe down
Yeah.
for when those
Right.
times are.
We'll
Yeah.
still jokingly bust each other's balls
Yeah.
for not being part of hustle culture, but
Yes, exactly. And like sometimes
but we must
you-
refuel
yeah.
the tank sometimes.
Sometimes, and that's the thing is that they are both equally as important. And like
Yeah.
like when sometimes you need that extra push, and every fiber of your being wants to say no, but you do it.
Mhm.
Right.
And then every fiber in your being wants to say yes.
But
and
you
you
need to
don't.
shut it
But,
down or
yeah,
you will die.
There's
Like
there's
Yep.
never a fix of when
Yeah.
to do either
Yeah.
one, and either one takes just as much energy.
Mhm.
It needs that.
Totally.
Congratulations.
totally.
And neither one is better or worse for you.
Yeah.
They just need to happen.
You have to have balance. There's never
Yes.
one extreme that's right for you and one extreme that,
Yeah.
you have
And
to have
never all at the
balance.
same time,
Yeah.
right? Like we
Yes.
talked about like that work-life balance, it's work-life harmony.
Yeah.
Like it's not about having the scales be even. It's about for you and where you're at and who your what your personality is and what you're trying to achieve. Like what's the harmony?
Yeah.
Where do things kind of line up in sync? Because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm gonna need to put more into my business and less into my social life. And sometimes I need to just take a step back and refill. Like it's
I know. Like my mom texted me about St. Patrick's Day, and she texted me yesterday and was like, "Are you coming for St. Patrick's Day?" And I was like in the middle of like helping another store with all this stuff, and then I needed to get out and I drive home, and it was like 5-hour drive home, and I got home and I immediately got home, ripped off my clothing, jumped into bed, was like, don't talk to me, because I knew that I had to be up early to get here to record all
Yep.
these podcasts, to then tonight do all this other stuff, to tomorrow I gotta drive to Rochester. And so while I was changing this morning in between our records, my mom texted me, "Matt, are you coming?" And I texted
You're
her
so
back.
overwhelmed. Like,
I texted her back and I was like,
yes.
not too busy. I'm not, because she's doing something on Monday in
Okay.
Rochester. So I'm not going to be here. But I was like, I'm not, count me out. And she texted me back. She was like, "Are you okay? You sound
Yeah.
tired or angry." I was just like,
And it's just,
yeah.
I mean, half the problem is text. Like,
Yes,
let's just be
exactly.
right? Like, no, there's no nuance or like
Right.
she's just,
vocal
wanting,
tone.
she's just looking
She's
after
just
your
checking
mental
on
care.
us.
But,
But they don't
Yes.
know. We never know what's on the other side of that
Yes.
phone, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't know unless we're there sometimes or hearing
Yes.
physically what's. So same thing. My mom, when I was napping yesterday, quote
Yeah.
unquote, when I had ditched poor Carla,
Yeah.
but she called me and I was like, click, like not answering this
Yeah.
because I was literally trying to rest. Which I
Yeah.
know if she knew that, she'd be like, oh, good for you, sweetheart.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You're like
But-
Nosferatu. Like,
Yeah, no, literally
all
just a
dead.
vegetarian. Yeah, I was 100% dead. And even my
Yeah.
husband was like, "I'm proud of you. You never do that." I'm like, I know. Like,
Yeah.
I needed it. From the moment I woke up, every fiber of my body was like, you need to get out early today and you need to chill. But Carl and I were texting all day like, okay, when will we do it? Okay, where will we go? When will we meet? And I'm like, I'm gonna rally. I'm gonna rally. And finally I'm like, I'm not rallying.
Yeah.
I just can't. So, but we have to listen to ourselves too at the same
Yeah.
time. And when she said, "Oh, good, me too," I was like, "Oh, good, okay."
Yeah,
I had a
honestly.
feeling, but I didn't want to assume. And that's what happens to us, right? Like all of a sudden you tell someone like, "Hey, I had a shitty month," or "I mismanaged my money this time," and someone goes, "Oh my God, me too." And we're like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah.
why do we think
absolutely.
we're alone in all these
Right.
things? Like,
I
why do we
know.
think that this
Like
bad
everyone's
thing
just
is like
badass
nobody else-
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why I'm like, no matter what, like after everything that we've all said, I am such I will always have a dislike and a distrust of overthinking and overanalyzing and waiting for things to be perfect. And people
Eric.
who
Wow,
use
he's
that
attacking
as,
you personally,
Yeah,
Eric.
people who use that as a reason not to get through it, because I'm like, as soon as you go through it and as soon as it fails or succeeds, there will be somebody else who says, I did the same exact thing. I
Mhm.
failed, miserably. I did that horribly. It wasn't how I wanted it to go, but I did it anyway.
Yep.
Or it was exactly how I wanted, and I can't believe I can say I did it. It doesn't matter whatever the result is. There will be 10 other people who are like, that I feel the same. You know, it went horribly and I'm embarrassed and I can't believe it. Or
and you are not alone, my
yeah,
friend.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or
Like,
it was perfect.
I told you, like, I failed at a military school because I was quote unquote too fat. And that was the line that I gave myself for like the first 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here, I will openly talk about that now because one, I know it took years of like grace to
I
like
felt that one.
to be like, no, you tried your best.
Yeah.
You gave it all you had. And ultimately that wasn't where you were supposed to stay.
Right.
That was just supposed to be a stopping point along your journey to go further.
Right.
And I know that there are other people. I can't have been the only one. I mean, if you have all these weight loss, I can't be the only one who's gone through that.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I was like, I had this awesome career I could have had traveling the world in the Army, but it's like, you know, and I see my peers and it's like, okay, I see how this was different and what it looked like. And I thank them for their service. Absolutely.
Right.
Because it is costly, both for them and their spouses at home and their kids. And so, but I know I'm not the only one to go through that.
Right.
So it's now kind of like, okay, this was a struggle I have. And to keep it to myself, not that I have gotten past this. I have forgiven myself. I know that this had a greater purpose, but it would be selfish for me to not share it.
Right. Exactly. And I feel the same way about being an alcoholic. I bring it up a lot because I'm like, I want people to know, like, you can have whatever problem you've got. It's not a negative. It's not something to be shameful of. Like, you can do the thing in spite of, or because of, or with. However you want it to be, it's still there. It still exists.
Right.
And I choose for it to be with. Like, I am a business owner and I'm an alcoholic. I'm not a business owner in spite of being an alcoholic or whatever. Like, it's a part of me and I want it to be something where people are like, oh, wow, like, that's crazy. Like, he does that also.
It's part of your character arc.
Yes, exactly. Yep. I went through my villain stage.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like this conversation has been so soul enriching and we've talked a lot about that. But I do want to. We haven't really talked that much about what you do, why you and what and we have
a beautiful deep
exactly.
story.
Yes, but I do want to plug your business because that's why
So my
and
business.
we have 5 minutes left.
Yeah,
so.
5 minutes. Okay, so I'll give you the B&I spiel, which shout out to B&I. I'm a professional sub.
Yeah.
I will go to their quarter or visit. But anyhow, so Beret and Brush. I'm a freelance artist that specializes in live wedding painting, whether it's canvas, painting a canvas live, or doing guest portraits. I also host paint and sips at local coffee shops and breweries in the area.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I do murals. I do commissions. So these are, and that's why it's really cool. Like with Beret and Brush is like, it didn't pigeonhole me into one type of art.
Right.
Because guess what? I probably have undiagnosed ADHD.
Don't we all?
So all these little areas feed my soul. The live wedding painting, that is the Everest. This is the challenge. This is my best work. This is my most complicated, realistic, whatever.
That's awesome.
But people don't talk to me at weddings. They're worried about messing me up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The paint and sips, this is where I get to get into the community because I know, like, they, without a doubt, they always come, I don't have any artistic ability. I can't draw a stick figure.
Yeah.
Well, great. We're painting one. But
it's fine.
But it's fun. But it's one of those like opportunities that I get to know the people in my community. I'm partnering with another small business because I know I've got corporations that I could go against or I'm competing against. But when I partner with small business, they already have the storefront. They already have the liquor or the coffee license.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they already have, they provide the sip, I provide the paint.
Yeah.
But then we're creating an atmosphere of empowering people. Like you are capable of creating something pretty. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to quit your job tomorrow and be a professional artist? No.
Yeah.
But you are capable of creating something. So what else could you do?
Yeah.
And like last night, we hosted at the Cat Cafe.
Yeah.
So we'll do it in the room with the cats.
I need
which is
So you need to tell the listener what the Cat Cafe is.
Okay.
Because maybe not everybody knows.
So, oh my gosh. And this is one of my really dorky sides that comes out.
Okay.
Is that I'm a crazy cat lady. I have 2 cats. But a cat cafe, it started in Japan where you'd have people in Japan in cities have these small apartments. So not big enough to have a cat. So you'd have a cat cafe where it'd be like the bodega cats or like the cats that would be that community's cats. So here in America, we took a concept, we twisted it. So it's a way to get cats adopted. So on one side is the coffee shop. So you can always come and drink coffee and hang out at the bar and watch the cats through the window. Or you can physically go in and hang out with the cats for an hour. So I specifically work at Marcy's, Angel's Cat Cafe in Glastonbury. Okay. But there are like 5 or 6 others. And then here's where my community thing comes in is like I've started to reach out to all the other cat cafes for a particular project that I don't want to give away just yet. Yeah. Don't tell. But now I'm in communication with like 100 cat cafes across the nation. And I'm like, it gets crazy. Yeah. So, but people are now I have a whole other community.
But yeah, and you're a crazy cat lady finding your community. Like the more you niche down and like be yourself, those people.
But I don't niche down, Matt. I have to like expand
and
spread.
But that's exactly the point. The more you niche down, the bigger the pool. Like that's the point. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you said no to all this stuff. Like, I don't want to do this, don't want this. So now you're like, I am a cat lady. I do like to paint. And now all these people are opening up.
Yeah.
That's niching down. And that's what the point of, that's why Seth Godin and all these marketing experts are saying niche down, because the more you're authentically you, the bigger that audience is.
You find the right audience.
You know, this is why lawn mowing videos have 15 million views. It's like that is as niche as it gets, and you find more people get into this, and you're like, is this even a niche? It's so broad and so huge. But yes, it's specific. Yes.
And
exactly.
the thing is, like, the owner of the cat cafe, like, Beth Drazik, like, I don't think she knew what she was getting when she partnered with me, but she has just let me, like, go crazy. So, like, I've started a mural in there. I host the paint and sips. And then that's where, again, it was that catalyst that Christiane spoke over me that didn't know, was that now I'm in front of people on a daily basis. I'm making those connections with people, other cat people, and they're either, cats, it's such a simple, cute little thing. But the thing is, people are usually coming because they face some kind of trauma or some kind of loss. I literally had a lady come in about 2 months ago. 2 months prior, she was in that trailer park that blew up in East Hartford, and she almost lost her life. She lost her kitty in it. So here she's having to start at like 80 from square one.
Yeah.
And she's coming in and she's like, you know, her friend really was bringing her in, being like, you need somebody to like, you need that companionship. You need something to love you. And we had the perfect cat in mind. And then she's like, okay, I need more art now. You know, can you create this? And so I do this silly drawing. I say silly only because, like, again, people think of me for like the extravagant wedding art. I made a cartoon of her and her cat with her past cat in like the Garfield illustration style.
Yeah.
And she
so
just
cute.
like cries.
Yeah.
But this is like the gift that I have that it's like, this is my why.
Yeah.
That I can draw some lines, I can color in some shading, and people just feel unconditionally loved and seen. And it's just like, and how it unfolds is like the fact that I can do this and have that kind of impact on somebody that's my why. I'm a very service-based artist.
Yeah. Virginia drew a picture of me and Master Wayne.
I think I saw that. I think I saw it.
Yeah. It was a while ago.
Cool.
About a year ago or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is wild.
Oh, that's neat.
But yeah, exactly. I just like love it. I've got it in my house. People love
Master
it.
Wayne approves. You know?
Yes, Master Wayne does.
I got approved by my cat before I gave it over.
Nice.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly. Yeah, not cheating on you. Virginia, shout out local restaurants, other businesses that you love. You shout out the Cat Cafe.
Yeah, shout out the
some of your
Cat Cafe.
favorite?
Mel at the Bean in Windsor. She was my first yes when it came to like the paint and sips.
Have you ever been to the Bean?
No.
It is.
Yeah, it's the way.
So cool.
All right.
It is such a cool. I don't
know if I've ever seen you get like out of your chair like that excited about.
It really is.
Okay, I'll go.
I forgot it existed. I stumbled upon
one of these little coffee shops, but Mel is just one of these, again, selfless servants in her entrepreneurship that through coffee is just like a blessing to the community. All over, you know, boiled beans.
Yeah, exactly. Like I forget. Oh, I was going to a networking event at Windsor Works, West Hartford Co-working's other location, and I needed a place to just get coffee before the thing started. And I walked in there and I was like, this place is really cool. And I go to a lot of coffee shops. And I was like, the vibes here are just awesome. And I had forgotten about it because I don't ever go to Windsor. But then it's right next to Loomis, where Carla's sister lives.
Oh, okay.
And so we were driving by and she was like, oh yeah, the Bean is I was like, oh yeah, that place. That place is so yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I got to go again.
Yeah.
That place is amazing.
I got to go for the first time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, and she's got like flavored coffees that are just like, oh, they just
Yeah.
they're a hug when you drink them.
Love.
And like,
Great way to
and
describe it.
again, like, you know, Gary Pope of Love Long and Prosper Photography, like, again, he was my first, like, kind of like
love that.
introduction.
Yep.
Like, and it's been so cool that with this networking, every time I run into an obstacle, there seems to be someone who can help me fix it or help me overcome it.
Yeah.
So he was like step one, and it was through him that I was able to like find you guys.
Yeah.
Like, and all the other like networking connections that I've made.
Yeah.
And so, and even like, you know, developing the live wedding painter community. It's a lot of, you know, people that we know of each other online on social media. But then we had our first conference down in South Carolina last month, and it was just so like fulfilling.
That's
because
so
it's just like,
cool.
oh, you get it. Like you hate Cotton Eye Joe just as much as I do.
Oh,
at the
Jesus
wedding.
Christ,
Or
yeah.
Sweet Caroline. Oh my God. I hear
Yeah.
Sweet Caroline at a wedding and everyone goes, but, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the people have done it in their car.
It's
Right.
been
The people in
done.
their car have just done it now. And so,
That's so
and these are women who are artists who are making it. So they've had their experiences, and there's also new artists coming in. And it's like, now you can be an artist and you can thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
Like,
have
not
to be
just make a
starving
paycheck,
artist.
but
Yep.
thrive
Yeah.
and build and grow. And it's just it's an amazing time to be in this industry.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful. And
Very
again,
cool.
small business, like,
Yeah.
you know, because if you go to a corporate place,
Yeah.
they're like, well, there's all this red tape and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Small business is like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
need?
It's
We
most
gotcha.
extent, they're like,
Right.
yeah, sure. How can we help? How can
As
we
long
build
as the
each other up?
vibes are on point, people are
Yeah.
excited to work with you. Well,
Yeah.
Virginia, this has been such a pleasure. Thank
you.
you so much.
Conversation.
I've really enjoyed your friendship over the last couple of years. You're definitely somebody who's just very unique, very much herself, owns her space. And like it comes through that you want to connect with people and that you have a genuine love for humanity and just what people have to offer. And that definitely resonates and it comes through. So
Yeah. I would be doing this even if I didn't get paid. Even if Beret and
Yeah.
Brush shut down for tomorrow, I would still be doing this.
That's so
so
cool.
That says
thank
something.
you.
yeah,
Right.
that definitely does. Well,
Very
thank
cool.
you so
And
much.
good to finally
being
meet
here.
you.
It's so good to meet you too.
Yes,
This was great. I
definitely.
appreciate you.
Yeah, and we will tag all your socials in the
Yep.
show notes, and we'll have all that. So thank you, and I think Fabric of America should do a team building at the Cat Cafe.
Ooh,
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should do that, and definitely
I
the
love it.
listener should. And thank you so much to the listener for tuning in to another episode of the Fabric of America.